Welcome to Chef Andy. Today is a crazy day because I am giving out my family's secret minestrone soup recipe. I can't even believe I'm doing this, but you know what? I believe in giving out the secrets, not keeping them, so your taste buds can experience that beautiful flavor and taste. Speaking of beautiful flavor, if you've not subscribed to the channel, make sure to do so. Slap a big like on the video. All right, let's get right into the recipe. Hello there, how you doing? You're probably wondering, why are you hearing this voice? Well, I thought I would do a voiceover for this video because this recipe can be a little bit confusing if I don't explain it in exact detail. So, if you want this soup to taste the best, you're gonna wanna use homemade chicken stock. And I will leave my link in the description on how to make it, but basically, why it's so much better than the stores is because we're using the freshest and the best ingredients. And when you use good ingredients, you're always gonna have great food. So we're gonna be using 8 cups of chicken stock, and I'm gonna let these melt down. Now you're gonna wanna turn your stove on to medium, get a nice, medium-sized pot, and 2 cups of water. Once our water has come to a boil, I'm going to be adding 1 cup of brown rice. Now you can use any type of rice that you'd like, but we're going to use white for today, and we're going to let that cook for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now it's time for one of my favorite parts, the sausage. And you can never have too much sausage in this dish, people. I'm going to start out with 6. But you could put in 12, you could put in 24. I'm telling you, the sausage is gonna be the first thing that goes on this recipe. So we're gonna wanna cook our sausage, not all the way completely through because it's also gonna cook in our soup, but we wanna cook it just enough that it's gonna turn that nice crispy brown on the outside and start leaking out some of its juices. As you can see, our chicken broth is looking beautiful, so we're going to put our 6 amazing looking sausages inside that chicken broth so it'll leak out as many of those beautiful juices as possible. And now the hardest part of the entire recipe is prepping those beautiful fresh vegetables. Remember, you want to use fresh and organic. All right, so we are going to be starting out with some organic carrots. I'm going to also take off that skin because I don't want any dirt or toxins to get into our soup. So I'm going to cut these in half and then into quarters, and then we're going to cut them into little chunks. Not too chunky, not too fine, just right. Now we're going to take our half a bushel of fresh celery, and I'm going to cut that down the center and basically do the same thing, same size as our carrots. Red onion. So I'm going to put a whole red onion in this beauty. Now you could use a white one, you can use a red one, whatever kind of onion you want. We're going to slice that right in half and then cut it into nice pieces. I like to do all my prep work before I start cooking all this stuff, so we're going to take our zucchini, even though we're not going to use it until the very end. We're going to take 2 of those and we're going to cut them in nice beautiful chunks, as you can see right on the video. Alright, now it's the green bean time. So I'm going to take 2 handfuls of those beautiful green beans. Remember, wash your vegetables really well, guys. You don't want any dirt, any toxins. Take 2 handfuls. We're going to cut those in half so they just fit right in the mouth. Ooh, and now one of the tricks that you probably will never see in other people's minestrone is some fresh kale. Now, how you cut kale is you cut along the side of the stem that runs up through the leaves. Once you've gotten rid of that stem, then we're going to take that kale and cut it into nice, about 1.5 inch pieces. Everything is prepped, looking amazing. Now it's time to cook those beautiful vegetables. So we're gonna start out with 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And the first thing I'm gonna cook are my red onions. With those red onions, we're gonna put in those fresh carrots and celery, and we're gonna let this saute for about 10 minutes. I would just like to say something. I cannot believe that I am giving away my family's famous minestrone recipe. There are some secrets in here that you will not find on the internet. Now, here's a trick, is taking the rind of the parmesan reggiano and putting that in the soup. What it's gonna do is it's gonna extract all those beautiful oils from the cheese, and it's gonna give it that parmigiano flavor. So don't throw away your rinds, people, because you can use it for your minestrone. Veggies are looking nice and sauteed, so we're gonna add that into our broth. and now it's time for the cannellini. So we're gonna use 2 cans of cannellini beans. Now, if you don't wanna use cans, you wanna cook them, go right ahead, be my guest. But we're gonna be using the canned cannellonis. But make sure to wash off those cannellonis because you don't want any of that weird water on them. So we're gonna give them a nice fresh wash, and then we're gonna dump them right into the soup. Our rice is already done, so we're gonna also put that in the soup. Guys, the reason the soup tastes so amazing is because there are just so many ingredients in one soup, and everything is excellent. Give it a nice mix, and it's zucchini time. We're gonna add those zucchinis, we're gonna add those fresh green beans, and we're gonna add that beautiful kale. Isn't our soup already looking fantastic? So our zucchini, our green beans, and kale, it's gonna all cook into the soup, so don't worry about it being too hard. But now is the time to make some fresh pesto, and my pesto is the best pesto in the entire world. But this is another secret, guys, of why the minestrone tastes so amazing is because we add pesto. And you'll find this soup with pesto, minestrone con pesto, in the Liguria region, and that's where my grandmother and all of her family came from, was Liguria, and that's where pesto was invented. And if you'd like to see my pesto video, I will link it in the description, but I'll also explain what I'm doing here to make it for you guys right now. Okay, so we're gonna take a bushel of fresh basil. So we're gonna pick off the leaves and we'll put them in our strainer. We're gonna take our fresh Italiano parsley. I'm using a half a bushel, and I'm gonna pick off those beautiful leaves, put them in our rinser, give them a nice wash, get that water off, and then we're gonna add the basil and everything into our food processor. Our food processor is gonna cut it really nice, but if you don't have a food processor, you could use a mortar and pestle, but I just prefer this. It makes it a lot easier. Or you could also use a blender. Also, we're gonna add 2 cloves of fresh garlic, and then you can't go wrong with some fresh parmesan reggiano. Come on! So we're gonna use, I'd say, about a handful of parmesan reggiano. And remember, you can always add more. And when you're making pesto, it's to the taste. If you want more salt, add salt. If you want more cheese, add cheese, more basil. It's really to the taste. There's not just like, hey, here's the exact measurements and stick to this, because there really are no exact measurements. Now we're gonna take a half a lemon and squeeze that beautiful juice in there just to give it a nice little pop, that little zest. We're gonna sprinkle in a little handful of pine nuts, and this is actually one of the most expensive parts of making pesto are the pine nuts. A nice generous pinch of salt, and last but not least, we cannot forget about some fresh olive oil. So we're gonna turn our food processor on, get it going, and then you're gonna wanna add olive oil as you go to sort of break that down. Give it a nice little taste test. If it tastes good to you, it's got that cheese, that basil, all balanced and comes together, then you're good. If you don't like that taste, then add whatever ingredient that you want more of. This batch I like. You can see the color, the consistency of it. So we're gonna add it right to our soup, and look at that. Oh my gosh, it's a bella roba di buono. That just looks incredible. So we'll mix that all around, and we're gonna let this pot sit on the stove for about 20 minutes on low. And I almost forgot, but one of the last parts to bring this thing all the way home is 1 fresh potato. And we're gonna cut these up into nice cubes. Now, my potato I'm not putting in right now, because if you put it in too early, the potato becomes mushy and breaks up within the soup, so I like to just put it in right at the end. So we're gonna let those potatoes cook for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then look at our minestrone. It's a bella roba di buono, baby, come on. Oh my gosh, this stuff is incredible. You can see that the pesto has floated to the top. Everything is cooked down perfectly. The oils are there. The kale, the salsiccia, everything has come together so perfectly. Thank you for listening to the voiceover. I wanted to be very specific with it. Now, when scooping this and serving it, you're gonna wanna take a scoop of all the vegetable sausage and everything that you would like and your heart desires, and then you're gonna take that broth and just drizzle that and fill it up to the top. I hope you guys liked the voiceover. Now I've gotten myself all worked up about this minestrone soup, which I do not have any more of, so I'm going to go make some right this moment. You should as well, but before that, you should watch me taste test it. So back to my friend, Chef Andy. I'm also Andy on the voiceover, just to clarify. Wow, this turned out incredible. Look at this beautiful minestrone soup. You got that kale, the beans, the sausage, but the thing that makes this whole thing come together is the pesto. That is the secret ingredient. Okay, I gotta give this minestrone soup a try. Oh my gosh. Not only do I teach you how to make the food on Chef Andy, I need to show you the technique of eating the minestrone soup. So I take my spoon, cut off a nice piece of sausage, get a scoop, you know, get a little bit of everything. Get some kale, that rice, beautiful, beans. Oh my gosh, that is incredible. There are just so many flavors going on, but really, you know, that chicken broth base, that homemade chicken broth really sets the tone. But I think what kicks off this whole thing is having that fresh pesto added. That just creates so much flavor and it's so unique. You're not gonna find that on a lot of minestrones, but everything from the chicken broth all the way to the beans and the sausage, the ingredients are the top of the top. And when you use really good ingredients, you're always gonna have great food. And you would never find this in a restaurant because they would have to charge like $30 for this one bowl of soup. What I love about minestrone soup is that you can make a bunch of it, store it in your fridge, and then whenever you want minestrone, you just pull it out when you're hungry. But there you guys go. My family's secret minestrone soup recipe. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that. Slap a big like on the video, and I'll see you next time in the kitchen. Ciao belli.